Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining the ITHive Saturday morning's tech show and conversation. So just a reminder for anybody who's just if you have a question or a comment or so, just post it. I will go through these as I'm doing my talk. Very informal here, so even if you want to ask something that I'm not talking about, feel free to pop that in, and I'll work it into the conversation or address your issue or answer your question, whatever the case may be. So yeah, anyway, here we are on Facebook. I think a couple of things that we should be getting notifications now out in the proper time zone. I believe that problem has been fixed this morning, I believe. So anyway, we'll have to see. But yeah, I just wanted to continue. In the last 3 episodes, I've been talking about the role of technology and services and the role of people, right? And so there's, just to recap a little bit, when we develop computer systems, right, there's a point at which computer systems shouldn't be involved and we should have people involved. And the reverse is definitely true as well, right? And I just want to talk a little bit about the experience I had with a company, which kind of goes backwards to what, what I've been talking about before. But just to say, shout out there, right? Yeah, people are very, very important to have as frontline in your organization to help others, to represent your company, to provide some empathy, some understanding, some personal service for your customers. So technology doesn't really do that well, right? So that's where you have the importance of people. Well, just to continue with my moving story, I'll talk about this company now. Last week I wasn't going to mention their name, but when we did our move for our office and the rest of the family of 5 here, we decided to use a company called Pods, and I thought, well, that's just pretty neat concept, and it's pretty good. Initially, I could book, the pod to go to our old place, and that all worked well and everything. Things really fell down, though, when I had to make an adjustment in the dates of what we were doing with our pod. And I couldn't do that online. Even though I could book it online and everything and get it all without, just do it, in the middle of the night in your pajamas, and that worked. But when I had to make a change to that schedule, I had to call somebody. And as much as I'm a proponent of having people there to help your customers with stuff, those people have to be really good, right? If the system you're using to do stuff with a company is not so good, i.e. in the case of Pods, I couldn't have made an adjustment to my schedule, and you have to call people, okay, so that failback and calling people, those people should be helpful, right? I can't say that was my experience. Not helpful. It was like a frustrating nightmare. And anyway, as we went on, I expressed my concern to the different, people I talked to and said, this really should be fixed. It's ridiculous that I have to do this and whatnot. And anyway, as it went on, moving is a stressful experience, right? And you got to manage lots of things, and in our case, we had to manage some finances here and there, and Pods had posted, my invoice, right? And of course, they want to get paid right away, and timing wasn't quite working right for us. But I had sent a fair chunk of money down to my card, so their invoice could go through. So when it wasn't processed, they called me and said, "Oh, hey, Mr. Polis, you need to use your invoice and stuff like that." I told them, okay, and this happened a few times, and I said, hey, don't worry, the invoice will be taken care of, it'll be paid, in a couple of days. I just got to wait for the payment to go through in the credit card. You know how it is, right? We live in a tech world, but you send money through the wire to pay and it takes 3 business days. I still have yet to understand that. Maybe we should do a show on that one day, but that's extremely frustrating. It should be immediate, right? In today's world, I make a payment to my credit card, they should get it right away. And then that's probably an example where, we should be reliant a little bit less on, people to push buttons, right? And I don't know if that's the case in this case. Anyway, to get back to my story. So I was already frustrated with the fact that, it was so hard to make changes to the schedule when we do things. And then we had this billing issue, right? Well, my container was set to move on the 1st of December. We were going to move it to the new location, and that's what I had scheduled. Okay. But they had their invoices that were, I think 3 days old, right? And they were unpaid. And, I thought, well, okay, I've explained it to them. I told them, probably early next week at the latest, it'll all be resolved, no issue. So I told the guys, I said, okay, well, fine, do what you need to do. And logically, I thought, well, they wouldn't do anything, right? They would just leave the pod where it was and not move it anywhere. No, of course not. They didn't do that, right? They took our pod and moved it from our old address to their storage facility. And on top of that, they used my money that I had paid them to move it from our old address to our new address to do that without my permission, right? Or even talking to me or saying that or anything. They just did it, right? Well, I tell you, that's a really good way to lose a customer. And on top of that, on Friday night, early Saturday morning, right, I got a notification from my credit card company that they received the payment, and also got another notification that pods was paid, right? So they actually even got paid earlier than I had said. So now I'm in a situation where they did that, right? And okay, so here's the thing. Things go wrong sometimes, but what do you do after when things go wrong, right? So I called them. I was very upset, and I expressed this, right? What they did was they offered me a $25 credit on the next new order or whatever, right? And I'm a big, it's really important for me, customer service, right? I have to give it to my customers. I expect that from companies I deal with. And I get it. Sometimes things goes wrong, but the thing is, what do you do after? And offering me $25 was ridiculous. What they should have done was just said, we're sorry, Mr. Polis, we're following policy, whatever. Tell you what we can do. We can move the pod from our storage facility back to your new address at no extra cost. Had they done that, right? Customer for life for me, right? So here's the math. I was ready to pay $100 a month to have my stuff stored with pods. So that's like $1,200 a year, $12,000 over 10 years. It would have likely been 10 years. So they just lost $12,000 of revenue. Maybe they don't need the money. I don't know, right? But next Saturday, we're going to be closing down that relationship. And on top of that, I will never do business with that company again. It's just the way I work, right? I hold a high standard for customer service, and I expect it. If I'm paying for a service, I expect it to be delivered, and nothing else is acceptable. Yes, things can go wrong, but again, I go back to what do you do when they go wrong? Anyway, so that's all a very long story to kind of explain where that kind of fails, right? So, I think what we always lose track of when we develop computer systems and stuff like that is the actual process, right? And how is that process defined, right? And in your business, this is one of my mantras coming up. Hold on. If you run a business, okay, and your accountants and lawyers are dictating to you the policies and procedures that your business should do, I'm not saying that accountants and lawyers are not important. They're important, right? But I'll tell you this. In my business, I will always tell the accountants and lawyers what they're going to do, not the other way around, right? I will never, ever let my accounting team or legal team develop policies for my customers. That is just crazy nonsense. We're human beings, we're emotional things, and we expect things to work certain ways. And computer systems, accountants, lawyers, they're all mechanical, unfeeling entities, right? And I'm sorry for the accountants and lawyers out there. My apologies. But you know what I mean if you're really honest, right? You know what I mean. It's about the numbers. It's about not getting sued. And yes, that has a place, but it needs to be in the right place. And the same is true with computer systems, right? Like I alluded to in the last two episodes, computer systems they're not a feely thing. They can't emphasize. They can't, they don't have empathy, is what I'm saying, right? They can't make a decision based on a personal experience that a customer is having and make that right? Only really good customer service-minded folks can do that. And you need those people in the front lines to represent your organization. In the background, yes, you need good policies, you need good procedures, you need a good legal team, you need a good accountant. All that stuff needs to be there, right? But the organization, the systems, the process, everything should be people-focused, right? Now, so I don't know how much time we got here. Let's see. Oh, okay. Well, almost at the 15-minute mark. I don't want to make these things too long, but let's end here on something else. Okay. This week, one of my customers shared a video with me from a presentation that Lockheed Martin was doing. And, I'm a big component of technology, and I think, technology is cool, and I'm wowed by stuff, right? But this presentation I watched was freaking scary, okay? So we're talking about drones here, right? Drones that can react to situations automatically, be programmed to respond to certain events. Even this little drone that was like about this big, right? It could evade like a sniper bullet or somebody trying to hit it or whatever. Now, he went on to demonstrate this thing, and he throws it out in the crowd, right? And it comes back and it lands on the forehead of a dummy that had there, and you hear a little pop, right? Well, what it did was it lodged an explosive right into the center of that dummy's brain, and I found that pretty scary, because if I extrapolate on this, okay, you'll hear me say this a lot. Technology is not a perfect thing. It's not smart. It never will be smart, right? And it will make mistakes. And the problem with technology is it can make mistakes en masse in a big way. So, or unfortunately, for those who are a little more conscious, it could make mistakes on, or it could be programmed to make mistakes, right? So, this presentation I found very, very disturbing. Cool technology, yes, but very disturbing, because given in the wrong hands or used in the wrong way, it could be very, very bad. So, something for us to really be conscious of. I think that the issue, and something I'll always say, is that as we move forward, we're going to see technology come our way, and we're going to see great capabilities, and some fascinating things are going to happen. But there's always going to be technologies that are going to be worrisome and that we need to talk about, and we need to make sure that human beings are behind the scenes of things, so that we can make better decisions, or at least make accountable decisions, right? I think when we remove the human element out of the technology decision-making process, we're getting into trouble. And I think the big issue around this is that you'll always see this, and this statement kind of generalized it, right? But here's the flaw a lot of the times with technology. As we put technology in, we spend a lot of money on it, and a lot of the times it's put there to reduce labor costs. Because, of course, when you put a computer system together, right, you pay for it, it's done getting paid for, and then it'll do the same thing over and over again, and you can lower your labor costs. The problem is, though, is that maybe we put too much faith in that. And that's where we run into issues. I really think, yes, technology has a good place in a lot of areas, right? But we need to understand where that line is, right? And the more people we take out of the equation, the less of an empathetic system we would have in all cases, right? So whether it's military, social services, big government, big business, whatever the case may be, right? People need to be there, right? Now, I'll be a big proponent of that. My organization is going to be like that. At ITHive.org, we have a lot of things that are automated and a lot of things that happen to alert and make us aware of stuff, right? But it's always people first, right? People first with the customers, even in the processes, right? I don't trust the technology that, and this is going to sound weird, I don't trust the technology that I have all my clients' systems to be working. And that's just a mentality, right? Because if I put too much faith in it, I would be overconfident and it would cause me to be complacent, right? But I go and check and make sure that these things are working for my clients. I question things that look wrong, and I go after it and resolve anything that doesn't look like it's working correctly or whatnot. So human element again, right? We can do it better. So that's why we're here, right? Good use of technology, but let's keep the people in the mix, I guess, is the message. So anyway, I think that's about it. We've gone a little bit over time, almost 20 minutes. And thanks, good chatting with you guys. And, if you have any questions after the fact or whatever, post it. I'm going to post this up on YouTube like I do every week. And we'll see you all next week. Okay? Have a good one. Bye.